All right, so good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. Hopefully, some more people will come in, but listen, besides the crowd, it never makes a difference, right? Because it's the value of the information that is most important. So we're going to get things kicked off this morning. We got a pretty full agenda, and hopefully you guys will enjoy lunch as well. So today, what we're going to cover. Um, Today, we're going to look at a few things, right? First, we're going to have a presentation from SCORE, part 3 in this series of starting up businesses, business basics, and we're going to talk about the marketing plan. But before Bob takes the floor, we're going to also have Taisha Blade and Richard Weiss introduce themselves to you. And they're going to talk a little bit about the theater video, but most importantly, they're going to talk about their exciting new project, a publication for East Cleveland, the East Clevelander magazine. And then we're also going to have Ms. Shirley Fitzpatrick introduce her new organization, We the Proud Citizens of East Cleveland. And then, time permitting, we'll talk about the East Cleveland grocery store planning. There are 3 things that we need to do right away regarding the grocery store. We need to put together a real estate team, and that team is going to be the team responsible for actually securing the land and the property we want to build a grocery store on. The second team is the business development team. If you were here before when we first talked about it, we said that what we ultimately aim to do is build a business with the people here in East Cleveland. And those people will actually control the property, and they'll control the grocery store, right? And that'll be a for-profit entity. So we need to build that business entity. We need to teach the people. We need to get the right pieces in place, the right business structure, and then we need to learn how to operate a business. That is one of the areas that SCORE is going to be very helpful to us in. They're going to mentor that entity, and we're going to learn the right way to start a business and operate a business, which is part of what we're doing here. And then the third team is the gifts and donations team. That team is going to be responsible for fundraising and actually controlling those funds and distributing those funds and things like that, right? So we'll talk about those things in more detail as we move forward, but that's basically how we're going to proceed today. Give me 1 second. I'll have the video. Okay, there we go. So first, I want to introduce Taisha Blade and Richard Weiss from the Neighborhood Media Foundation, and they're going to talk about, tell you about themselves and their upcoming project. So take it away.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello. I am Taisha Blade. I'm the editor in chief of East Cleveland Magazine. It's a startup. I started it right after college in 2020. But then I went into TV broadcast off the Channel 19 NPR. And now I feel like it's time for us to start telling our stories. So we're keeping that mission going. We're getting the conversation started. And that's it about that.
And I'm publishing with Taisha. I'm there in support. My main role is as executive director of Neighborhood Media Foundation. And anytime someone like Taisha pops up, a community member that wants to report on her own community, that's where we come rushing in, and we'll bring every bit of media we can to try and make it a big, beautiful publication. And there's no better, no city that needs a publication more than East Cleveland. So I'm so thrilled to be a part of this project, the East Clevelander. We also wound up doing some video work for probably one of our bigger stories and ongoing story, which is the East Cleveland Theater. And we're doing a small documentary on all the people who are rolling up their sleeves and going into the East Cleveland Theater and trying to make it come back to life. And we'll take that video and take it around and try and bring more attention to the project and see if we can raise some funds for the project. Well, But we are here as a quarterly magazine for you, by you. We take submissions from community members. Everyone has a voice. This is your publication.
And it's about spreading the positivity of the community. Because we get so much negative press already that we don't need like a lot of messy stuff. So we want to spread the positivity and the things that we're doing as community members to help ourselves. That's another thing that.
So keep in touch. Let us know if we can come out and do any reporting for you. We'll be making our contact information. We'll get it out there. It'll be everywhere. But you'll see this big, beautiful quarterly magazine come out starting April 14th.
Are you facing advertising? And we should talk, because I think this would be a good place to score, advertise both for clients as well as for new members.
As publisher, I'm praying that I have a rate sheet in my bag.
Well, it's not really so bad.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Hey, thank you guys.
I'll get.
Now, real quick, regarding that video that we talked about, right? So we are still looking for people who want to share their East Cleveland Theater story. So if you're interested, just scan that QR code right there, and then it'll direct you to our sign up page where you can sign up to tell your story about the East Cleveland Theater, right? So if you don't want to do it now, all you got to do is take out your cell phone and scan it. Otherwise, it's also on our website and social media posts, things like that, right? So we definitely want to hear from you. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to ask Ms. Shirley Fitzpatrick to come up because she has started a very exciting brand new organization that she wants to tell you all about. So, Ms. Fitz, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank Sean and East Cleveland Growth Association for giving me the opportunity to bring the platform forward. Shirley Fitzpatrick, a member of Empowerment Church, also EC for EC, which is Empowerment Church for East Cleveland. Just doing a lot of things in the community. This particular venue came to mind only a few days ago. A lot of negative is happening in East Cleveland, and I felt it was time that we as the citizens got power back. We really don't have to depend on City Hall. It's about each of us doing something for somebody else. Your neighbor, taking them to the hospital or picking up medication, taking the food to them. So basically, this platform is geared to us, to let people know that East Cleveland is full of fantastic people. It's, not just the churches and the organizations, but individuals. And that's basically what I'm going to bring forward. Taisha and Richard with the newspaper and what you guys plan on as far as stories about East Cleveland and about the citizens, I think it's going to be awesome. It'll bring more people to see what we're about versus the negative that's happening in East Cleveland. There are so many great people in East Cleveland. I mean, I run into them every day. But at the same time, they don't know what's happening with anybody else because they see all this other stuff. So we're going to break through that other stuff and we're going to come together. Now, we're not going to have meetings now. Please, Sean, let me come every month. But it's right. But it's not a thing about having meetings. It's about, I'm going to post things and have people post what they're doing. I took my neighbor to the doctor. They didn't have a way. I read to a student. I mean, it's so many little things that's happening that need to be brought to the front. And that's what I plan on doing with this. I got my business cards. If anybody want to help me with this, you know what? I take that back. The business card is in your pack. So if you want to call me and you want to help me with this, or if you want to share some stories. As a matter of fact, the first story I'm going to put is about Sean, a product of East Cleveland, giving back to East Cleveland. But I have a lot of businesses in East Cleveland that give back, that people might not know about. And we want to bring businesses in to let them know that, hey, any little thing that you want to do, you can do it too, to spotlight not only what you're doing in East Cleveland, but to spotlight your business and let people know that you care about your community. So that's basically what We the Proud Citizens of EC is about. It's about us. Thank you.
Ms. Shirley, you got a question?
No, I just wanted to comment, that's gonna help the magazine out so much, because when I'm looking at Howard the City for stories, I'm gonna come to you. So thank you.
No problem, no problem. You know I'm open.
Where are they gonna be like, social media or how?
Basically, social media. And you know, we're thinking some other venues, but it's, you know, a lot of people get tired of coming to meetings. You know, so it's not gonna be meeting driven. It's basically gonna be on social media. If people have email address, I'll send them there, you know, to let people know. Because basically, it's not about me, it's about what you got. That's
Sure.
basically what it is.
She'll have a page on our website as well, and we'll publish everything on our social media sites. And then we'll be able to post videos, and we'll set up a mailing list for her so that you all can give her contact information. And just like those of you who are on our mailing list, we use Constant Contact, and you get those emails from us. Those are the kind of things you'll get from Ms. Fitz as well, for the Proud Citizens of EC organization. And again, the goal is not necessarily to have a bunch of meetings, but to get the stories out there about what's going on in East Cleveland and how we're helping each other. And if you need help, I'm sure that the publication, that the organization will get you what you need as well. All right. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I'm also very honored that they're gonna do something and focus on me. I love Ms. Fitz. I've been knowing Ms. Fitz for years. Believe it or not, she used to work for me when I ran in charter schools. So
I have a question. Actually, so SCORE has a landing page on our website for East Cleveland, so that people can go there. So I'd like to be able to link your organization and your organization. You can even ask for people to send stories in. You know, it'll take a while to get to a point where we've got people looking at it.
You know I'm crying, right?
But yeah, we can do that. So if you get me the links to your sites, then I'll put them on ours.
and SCORE's targeted, right? They can do things directed to people in our general vicinity, based on zip codes. And that's why we ask you guys to sign in, and we ask for your zip codes, because that allows us to first build our contact list, but more importantly, allows us to see where people are and how far our footprint is getting. So,
Yeah, because I have another person, Brandy, she does a lot of things in East Cleveland to another partner. I have so many partners in East Cleveland, and that's basically what I like to focus on. We share information, we connect with each other, we collect, and that's really what it's all about, staying connected to each other. That's what the aim is. Okay, Brandy, I'll be calling you later.
all right, so I want to go ahead. The next part of presentation is Bob Cohen, the co-chair of SCORE. But what I want you guys to do real quick, so that once we start, we can go through this, is we're gonna go ahead and serve so that then you can eat while we're presenting, if you're okay with that, because otherwise it'll be another 45 minutes to an hour before you can eat. So which do you want to do? I'll leave it to you. First. Okay, so let's take 5, right, and go get the food, and then we'll turn the floor over to Bob. Okay. Hey, go tell your library staff, anybody wants to come and get something to eat, come on down. So we've got an assortment of Subway sandwiches. We got water here. There's turkey. It says on the box. We also have wraps. We have veggie wraps and turkey wraps. And then we have cookies. So I gotta figure out where. So their paper plates, their napkins and everything. So the wrap, you said veg and then at the top of the box, it tells you what the sandwich is. There's turkey, ham, and coca. Help yourself, enjoy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead. I didn't. Go ahead.
So,
Get another. Yes, go ahead.
yeah, yeah, you know.
Get another.
I don't want you.
Yeah, no. Good, yeah, I mean, we're always looking for mentors and we're always looking for new clients, so.
Hey, just put the.
Our focus is on neighborhoods.
Now,
There is. Okay. Tell you nothing. You know how that is.
I know, exactly.
No, those are veggies, extra veggies, your sandwich, veggies. And there's the pork and everything, there's condiments in that bag.
I hope I'm helpful. Good.
Sorry about the rate. We would have fun.
Go ahead, yeah, let's just eat. I knew you was coming back. Yeah. 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 The veggies are, these are the veggies. These are protein, these are veggies. Man, get those extra veggies for you. That's it. Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You said just do that. See, I'm that guy who just say just do that.
These are, let's take another one. Let's move these up in front. The table being out, let's move more towards the table.
so they're just taking they're, like I said, ham wraps and veggies. That's good. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll send them all to you. Okay. I'm doing great things. Next. All right, everybody, go ahead and get your food. And we're gonna go ahead and get ready to kick off. And please continue to enjoy your lunch and feel free to get up and get seconds.
We can talk about
Yeah. Let me say something too. That's, that.
And over on the table. I can't have chocolate chip, because they all belong to me.
I'll back you. You sure can.
It's called ministerial.
I'll take a picture of it.
Now, because they're right here.
Oh, okay, okay.
Bring it to you.
That's what, just started with, I'm going, if I'm going, so far I've got, Sean,
Yes.
so did I tell you, maybe, I don't know if you want me to say something about where I.
Do you want?
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I was just tell you about it. So, yeah.
So we'll, after we do the score presentation, then you come up and you talk about something.
Right, 'cause I wanna, I said, make sure that's what you want me to post. I said,
That's what's up. That's what it's all
So
about.
I can tell you all about where we're going.
We'll be in touch right there.
Right, so I was gonna get your contact.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and kick off the actual score presentation. So at this point, I want to turn it over to Bob Cohen, who is the co-chair of SCORE Cleveland. He's also my SCORE mentor. And he's going to present part 3 of the 5-part series, which is the marketing plan. So Bob, take it away.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Hi, everybody. So I'm a SCORE mentor, and I am privileged to be here. And I'll tell you something, I'm learning more from him than he is from me, so just want to get that straight. Sean is already a fabulous mentor. We've done 4 different clients together, and he's going to be great going forward. So today we're going to talk about marketing. Just by show of hands, anybody that's in this room been to the last 2, I think, this is the 3rd one, SCORE presentations on starting a business? Yeah, good. So this is going to be a kind of a continuation of that. If you haven't received any of the handout materials, maybe we can get with Sean and get you to get those. But so for instance, we're working with a just kind of a model of a business that's already been up. It's a case study on Ann's Nursery. So some of what I talk about today is going to have some bearing on what's going on with Ann's Nursery. But I'll try and make it so it is pretty obvious what we're discussing. And then the other thing is just to let you know that while we're talking about marketing and the other areas that we have discussed, it's really kind of a high level overview. So, if you need more detail and you want to get with a SCORE mentor, that's probably a good way to go. So I'm going to start going through the slides and there we go. So, 1, 2, 4. So, for those that are not familiar with SCORE, SCORE is a national organization. There are 250 chapters throughout the country. We're one of those. We have about 87, 89 volunteers here in the Cleveland area. We have 2 new mentors in East Cleveland, both Sean and Curtis are mentors with us. If you know people that have had great careers or are in the process of wanting to try to figure out how to give back, send them to us here at SCORE. We would love to work with them. We'll do all the training. So we're the largest network of volunteer small business mentors probably in the country. Our mission is to foster small businesses and to help them grow through mentoring and education. And SCORE in Cleveland has a mission to work neighborhood by neighborhood directly with people that organize and work in and run the neighborhoods, as opposed to coming in and telling you what we need. We're trying to find out what you need and how we can help. And that's our mission in life. We call it our Community Navigator program. SCORE is for everybody. We work with everybody, veterans, people that need help, women entrepreneurs, Hispanic entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs, whoever we can help. We're very proud that last year we were Chapter of the Year out of all 240 chapters that are throughout the country. We were the #1 chapter, and we really appreciate that. One thing that we're very careful with is how we protect your information. So if we're working with you, we are not allowed to invest in your company or your organization. We need to keep everything that we learn about you inside with us only. and we don't communicate on the outside about any of our clients. We're part of the SBA, so as such, all of the work that we do is free, and it's unlimited. So if you are starting with us and you need help, and we can help you with your business, we can help you start it and grow it. And if you stay with us long enough and you're ready to retire and sell your business, we can help you do that as well. So we say that we're here for the life of your business. So if you go to our website, which is just score.org/Cleveland, it'll bring you to that homepage. And when you are on that homepage, regardless of whether you are a SCORE client or not, all of the information that's on that homepage is free. So there are some really good templates, financial templates, business startup planning templates. Just about anything you could hope for is probably on that website. So I'm going to start just by going through kind of what the roadmap was. So the very first session, we talked about startup basics. We talked about what it takes to be a good entrepreneur, some of the things you need to think about from a financial and family perspective. And you know, it just went through a lot of overviews on being a business person. The second session, we got a little bit more granular in that, you know, we talked about business concepts. So if you've got a concept, an idea for a business, how to get from that idea onto a worksheet, onto paper, you know, to be able to express that, to articulate what your ideas are, how to get research on your competitors, how to understand what your industry is doing, and what else is out there about the business that you want to start up. And that's what we talked about. And then we passed out some homework, which I'll go through in a couple minutes. It's very, very quickly done, about your business concept and where you want to take your business. So what we're going to talk about tonight is the very next step, and that is figuring out how to market your business. The idea of this entire 5-session process is to find out whether or not the idea you have and the business that you're planning to work on is feasible, in that if you invest money, if you invest time, you know, is it going to work? And, you know, I think probably in the very first session, I may have pointed out that about 50% of businesses that start up fail in the first 5 years. And much of it is failing to plan as opposed to actually, you know, getting your plans together and working your plan. So that's really important. So let's talk about homework for a minute. Ann's Nursery, and if you don't have it, maybe Sean, you can get copies for people if you have some still left over.
Yeah, anyone who is on the mailing list has the links to all of the documents that we've had from the first 2 sessions. And if you don't have the email, you can go to our website, click on SCORE Partnership, and then you'll see a link called Handouts. And there you will see all of the handouts from session 1 and 2. And later on today, you'll also have the session 3 handouts, which you already have.
Great, perfect. So Ann's Nursery is a fictitious nursery that started out. We did a kind of a study of it, and the reason we did it that way was because it's a great example, no matter what type of business you're in, as to how Ann thought through what her business plan is going to look like. And we'll get a little bit more into that. So there was some homework, and the first part of that was the business concept and your business concept outline. Has anybody actually had a chance to work on that? If not, and you know, you're working on developing a business, I would take a look at that. It's a good way to go. And if you don't have that handout, you know, go online and get it. But for all intents and purposes, you know, it's what is your business concept? What's your idea? How does your personal background fit into it? What industry are you in? What's the industry profile? And then target markets. And we'll talk about target markets a lot today. So, you know, if you have a business and you don't know who you're marketing to, you won't get that business off the ground. You got to get to a target market. So is that target market, you know, a neighborhood, a city, a state, Is it international? Is it national? How are you going to get to that target market? Is it women between the ages of 18 and 37? You know, I'm just making this up off the top of my head, you know, or is it something very, very specific? So if you read Anne's nursery, you find out that she is looking at nurseries in the area in which she is located. You'll also see that Anne has, I don't know how many acres of land, and her primary thing is to grow nursery plants and sell them in nurseries, but she's also selling them online. She's also selling them through websites on a national basis, and she's also got some of these plants for sale to local gardeners. If you're a gardener, you can go to Ann and buy these plants. That's in her plan. So she's got a target audience. In the feasibility study that we're looking at, she knows that there are 200 nurseries that are big enough in her area to support her business. She also knows that if she gets a small portion of all the stuff that's available nationally, she'll do very well as well. And you'll see that in a minute. But if you read through the study, it gives you an idea of how to target your audience. And that's a really important aspect as we get into the market. And then the last part of this was, you know, your business concept, what's your pricing strategy, you know, benefits and features, and I'll talk about that as we go along as well. That was hard to read. Market strategy down below, and I think, I'm not sure if that's.
It says size and profit.
There you go, thank you, yeah. So she understood it, and you'll see as we go along with the size of the market is that she's targeting and how much profit she can make by doing that. And that's really an important aspect of it. So today we're going to talk a little bit about competition, products and service descriptions, pricing strategy, target markets and channels. And we're going to talk a little bit about some marketing strategies that you can use to reach customers. And by the way, any of the slides that we're going through today are available for you as well. Have we just automatically sent them out? Sean, have we done?
No, actually, I was going to ask you today if they were proprietary. If not,
They are not.
then I will post them on our site and send them out to everybody on the mailing list
Yeah.
for all 3 sessions.
That's perfect. So typically, when we do a session, a virtual session through Zoom or something like that, anybody that attended that session will automatically be sent both a recording of the presentation as well as the slides. So in this case, Sean will make sure that you all get that.
And the recording will be posted on our website and the recordings from we had some glitches last month, so we didn't have last month's posting, but we do have session 1 posted.
Okay, cool. So, and then we're going to talk about just some briefly on some marketing strategies to reach the customers, marketing message, some sales basics, and then we'll talk about some homework for the next session. So, does everybody have an idea of what features and benefits are? So, that's one nice thing about standing in front of an audience instead of doing it virtually. I can ask a question, maybe, anyway, so that's, I like doing these in person much better than virtual. So, features and benefits are really important to your marketing. If you are, just talking about features, you're going through a laundry list of things about your service, your product that are out there. But if you're not talking about benefits, then people don't really see the reason why those features are valuable. So I'll give you an example. If I have a washing machine or a dryer, I can talk about how long the cycle is, how much laundry I can put in there, what it takes in terms of detergent, even how much pollution it makes or doesn't make, those kinds of things. Those are all features. In a computer, the size of the memory, the size of the random access memory, the size of the, the speed of the computer. Those are all features. The thing that's important to somebody that's reading your advertising or listening to your message is not so much the features, but the benefits. Yes, the features are important, but what's the benefit of having a larger tub? The benefit is more laundry in less time. You know, same thing in the dryer. The dryer takes it. So those are the types of things. The benefit of having, you know, a big hard drive on your computer is that it takes more stuff to fill it up. So, you know, you don't have to be looking at trying to take it off and change it or do anything like that. So benefits are as important as anything when you're talking about features and benefits. And when you think about your product or your services, what are the features? What are the benefits? Who here has a business or has a business concept? Can you give me some features or benefits of your business?
So I'm a birth worker, and so I offer home birth and hospital services
Right.
and for products that relate to mothers.
Okay, so what would be, why would it be beneficial for my wife or my daughter to work with you?
Depending on where you want to give birth, you would have someone who's knowledgeable and help you understand.
Okay, so knowledge, comfort, you know, and I think, you know, we probably have more women in the room than men, so you all probably can relate to that pretty easily. And those are the kinds of things that you want to think about when you think about it. Oh, nice.
No, I'm just saying she got a target market.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely right. And it's easy to find your target too. So that makes it easy. Anybody else have a small business?
I'm a funding consultant.
Mhm.
And we help people fund their business. So their credit is their ATM. So we help them get fund. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I jump the fund?
No, perfect. Okay, so what's the benefit of me working with you?
Well, when you go to tradition, we loan up to $400,000. And when you go to a traditional lending source, like a bank, financial institution,
Mhm.
they will not loan that kind of money. And our criteria is very minimal
Sure.
based off
Sure.
of,
We should talk.
yeah,
And I'll tell you why, because we have a lot of clients that are looking for funding.
yes.
And so.
We loaned out 10.9 billion last year.
Wow,
And during the pandemic, we
Nice.
loaned out 7 billion.
perfect. So, yeah, I'll give you my card. Let's go.
Absolutely, I would love that.
One of the things that we at SCORE do, sorry for kind of getting away from this part, is we do help our clients find funding for their businesses. We're not a funder, but we help. So the SBA is one, but we also work with banks. We also work with third parties that are, you know, tertiary kind of lenders, other lenders not having anything to do specifically with banks. So that's great. So,
Yeah, somebody over there.
Wanda,
Yeah.
we work with Wanda, and so Wanda, tell us about some of the benefits that you're bringing to the table with your mission.
Okay, and Bob is right. He's one of my mentors. And he had me come with Pat also because my mission is faith-based. My nonprofit that started in August is called Ministerial and Educational Resource Center. And I'm a retired teacher, 30 years, and I taught here in East Cleveland, Roselle, and everything. So I've been a resident of East Cleveland for 43 years. So this is my city. I'm not going anywhere. So it's about bringing back and knowing the source of what we need to do, who we need to talk to. So my target audience, of course, is teachers. Having been a teacher, I retired in 2015, and I know the issues that confront teachers. What they are going through now is unimaginable.
Yes.
And so my resource center, I acquired the historic house next door to me, which was the house of the designer of a lot of the beginning of East Cleveland.
Let me ask this question, just so we can continue on. Tell us about, like, you know, if I'm a retired teacher and I come to you, start working with you, what are some of the benefits that I will see by having done that?
So it's not just retired, it's for teachers who are currently, particularly teachers who are currently in the system and what they are doing. So this house that I've acquired
Mhm.
is going to be sort of like an oasis in the desert.
There you go.
So that they will be able to come here as a place of refuge, retreat,
Perfect.
and a gathering space, support space, throwing out the seed, not trying to convert people, but throwing the seed out there so they know where they need to go for the help.
Thank you, thanks. All right, so, the other things, I think features and benefits are very important to understand. Pricing strategy, so if you are in a market, understanding what your competitor's pricing looks like before you make your own pricing strategy, and to understand where within that box of pricing strategies you are going to fit. Are you going to be the high price provider? Are you going to be in the middle somewhere, or are you going to be a low price provider? And so just, some things to think about as you start thinking through your pricing strategy. Sometimes being the low price provider is okay, not a problem. Think about the difference between, let's say a Walmart and, a high-end department store. Walmart typically is the low price provider. That high-end department store might be the high price provider. But Walmart might be making their money in that they're providing a lot more of those products than the higher end department stores can. And so there's money in doing that. Same thing with hotels. Let's say a Four-Season hotel, you can go to Four Seasons and easily pay $800, $900 for one night. Where you can go to a Holiday Inn and pay, 80 some odd dollars for a night. You're still getting that sleep, but the difference is, what you're paying for the sleep. So it depends on what you want. And there are people that will pay for the high price provider. Go ahead, Curtis.
No Holiday Inn, you going to for $80. Maybe more like $150 a night.
Trying to make a point. No, you're right about that.
Like 100.
Yeah, but there's still a big difference between that and the Four Seasons. And so, that's all I'm saying is that's how you think about it. One problem sometimes, if you are the low price provider and you don't show value that you have for that price to the people that are potentially buying from you, then you get commoditized. So you're just like another energy company, phone company, utility, where anybody cares about nothing but price. And so if you put yourself in that position, you better be able to defend that. So that's all I'm saying in terms of pricing strategy. And then sales size, it's always good to understand what the potential for your sales would be. We can talk about that in more detail. And then, of course, marketing strategy. You want to understand what your competitors are doing, how much they're selling, and what their marketing strategy is. So I am constantly helping my clients go online and try and figure out what their competitors are doing, up to and including there's no reason why you can't go shopping on their website or go shopping in their store or work with their organization in some way, learn more about what they do. So I was in a business where I used to actually call my competitors and ask them to price a project for me. And then I would know based on how they priced it, where my stuff stood. And then I had the ability to adjust and manage my pricing. So that's pretty important to understand. So you also want to take a look at the business model of your competitors. How do they make their money? Where do they make their money? And, are they strong or are they weak? And we'll talk about that later on as well. So I'm not going to do this as a group right now, but the first of our handouts is called the Market Plan Competitive Comparison. Okay, so we just talked about features and benefits. So if you looked at, does everybody have one of these in the handouts? Okay, so if you take a look at this, you can see number one is my business, number two is, competitor number one, competitor number two, competitor number three. I would say that you should at least look minimum at 3 competitors. I think that's really important. But then we talk about features and benefits. What are their features and benefits? How are they pricing? How are they, how do their products, or I say products here, or services, you have a service, right? How does your service match up with anybody else that's doing what you do? Are you doing more? Are you doing less? Are you doing, are yours different? I'd say the same thing with Wanda. You know, there are other organizations out there that potentially are doing some of the same things, not necessarily all of them, but, you know, what is it that they do that's different, or, you know, are they even better, or are you better than they are? And we'll talk about that as we go on, because I'm going to show you how Ann actually took this pricing competitive comparison and scored herself. So you can see what she did was she scored herself to the competitors. You can do it any way you want. You can do it the way she did it, where she's got 2 pluses because she thinks she's better than her competitor A, B, and C. She's got a 0, meaning that's pretty neutral. And then she's got a minus sign, meaning negative, and then, you know, a 0, meaning neutral. So she scored herself versus them. There's a lot of ways you can do it. You can assign it numbers, you can assign it letters, you can do pluses and minuses. And that's a good way to do it. She did the same thing with the pricing. She did the same thing with her product mix. And the nice thing, the thing about the product mix is, take a look at it. She scored herself neutral. So she's right in the middle of the pack, both in pricing and in product mix and product size. Competitor A is negative. Competitor B is pretty much the same as her. The competitor C has got 3 plus signs. So bottom line is that competitor C has probably got more products in his business than Ann does. So think about what Ann does. She's providing nursery material for nurseries and things like that. So I'm assuming that this competitor has a bigger, better product mix. So, and you know, you take this with kind of a grain of salt, but understand that your businesses, while different than Ann's, have a lot of similarities in terms of what you want to look for in growing your business. When you talk about your products and services and you describe those things, and we'll see later on where Ann actually does that. What are the special benefits? What are some of the unique features? What are your limits and liabilities? And in her write-up, actually has a warranty, a 1-year warranty on her products. That becomes a liability for her that she needs to worry about. Not terribly, because she knows what it costs her to grow a plant that if she has to replace it, she knows what that cost is. So she's thought that through. You know, products and services, products and delivery, I'm sorry. Not everybody's going to have a production deliveries that they need to work with, but suppliers, a lot of us will have suppliers. Intellectual property. So what's meant by intellectual property is, do you have a special license nobody else has? Do you have patents on a product that nobody else has? I have one client who has a business that almost anybody can get into, but he is so smart and so creative, nobody else can touch his ability. And so that's special. And that's something that you need to think about as well when you're talking about intellectual property or special permits as well. So I assume that, that depending on what you do, you need to have special permits if you've got those, or you're certified by a state organization. You know, we've got people that are opening group homes and things like that. You need certifications in order to do that. So based on that, that's the important aspect of it. So the other thing that we're going to talk a little bit about is marketing plan. Your marketing. I'm talking about now marketing and service. I have the wrong one up. So this is 2 or 3 from the end. Marketing plan, product and service description. So just very simply, your business name, your product, your idea, your service. What are your special benefits? What are your unique features? You'll see how this all comes together in a few minutes. Your limits and liabilities, things we just talked about, production and delivery. So this is something that you want to start thinking about and potentially fill out for your own business. Again, this is part of the feasibility study. If you do the fill out these forms, when you're done, you'll have something that you can actually put into a full-blown business plan. and you'll have some idea where you're going. And I talked a little bit about pricing strategy, understanding the market pricing, what a typical pricing strategies are within your market. So, what are ways to research pricing strategies in your market? Any ways that you can think of? Throw something out at me?
To research,
Yeah, how would you look up?
social media, Google.
Yeah, internet is as good a place as any, to do that. Bob Fedor in our last session probably talked about doing research. This library probably has some very good research material available. The Cleveland Public Library downtown has an incredible business section in the, I assume in this library as well, the business reference librarians or reference librarians can help you out to find that stuff as well. And any other research that you might want to do about other companies that are out there, you should probably consider that as well. Depending on the industry you're in, most industries have some sort of trade associations, and most businesses belong to those trade associations. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's an association out there that does what you do in some way or another. It may not be exact, but I know that there's all kinds of funders and bankers out there that have associations. A lot of that information will exist through those organizations. So with your pricing considerations, Ann did this as well. You need to understand if you're doing something that actually has a material, what the cost of materials are for your products. If it's service, how are you going to price that for yourself? Is it going to be your cost plus? So you need to understand what all of your costs are, and then what your profit margins are going to be in order to make your business work. If you are charging less than your costs are, you'll be bankrupt pretty quickly. So that's something important to understand. So in pricing considerations, which is in your sheet, basically what it says, and if we had more time, I'd sit and work with you on it, but briefly describe your pricing strategy below. So what is your pricing strategy? Where in the marketplace do you want to be? Are you going to be the high price provider, as I mentioned earlier? And what are your competitors looking like from a pricing perspective? And that's something that's going to be really important. So let's talk a little bit about business channels. And sales channels are actually where you potentially going to sell your product or service. If you are doing it online, if you're doing it in a store, if you've got an online shopping platform, those are all things to think about. So does anybody have a definition, or can give me a definition of what business to business is? Pretty much what it sounds like. Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry. Exactly, yeah, and let's look at some possibilities for that. So let's say I'm an architect, and my products I'm selling to a home builder. So that's two businesses, one selling to the other. Any other examples of business to business ideas that you might have? So if you look at Ann's Nursery, she's a business, she's selling to other nurseries in the area. That's business to business. And the reason why the distinction is important is because all of the things that you do in terms of how you sell needs to be based on who you're selling to. Do you have a question?
No, I'm just thinking. Sorry.
Okay.
I was just thinking, he does garage doors, so he buys his doors from the dealer. Is that business to business? Would that be considered?
Yeah, actually, because,
It's a
well, it's
service,
business
no
to
goods.
consumer unless he's selling to commercial enterprise.
He's selling to the guy who's gonna install.
He installs them, but he buys them.
Right,
He
and
buys
you
them.
install.
Okay, so you buy from and then you install. So yeah, that's business to business, because
That's
the third leg is the business to consumer, who the person who's buying the door from him is the consumer.
Right,
So
right.
that first relationship is B2B.
Right, right. So you are working with, you're advertising to an end user consumer, right? So that's business to consumer, B2C.
Right.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's important because to understand, again, when you're targeting your audience, who you're targeting. So in your particular case, I don't know specifically what areas you cover, but let's assume that you cover, even if it's Northeast Ohio. So let's say that that's a 90-mile radius. Maybe it's not, maybe, maybe it's small. But you would look at finding consumers in those areas that potentially utilize your garage installation, your door installation. So, you might do that through, it might be social media, it might be some kind of advertising that you're doing, it could even be cable TV networks now have Spectrum, for instance, has the ability to target extremely tight geography. So you might be able to actually target it almost by zip codes. So, just a thought. Producer, is anybody actually manufacturing something that they're selling to other businesses or consumers? So yes, I mean, that would be producer to distribution or retailer through a supply chain. So the people that make the garage doors that sell them to the warehouses where you buy them, that would fit producer to distributor to retailer. And then you buy from the retailer, or you might buy wholesale from the retailer.
You just answered it.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I work with people, I've got a young man that has actually designed some women's clothing. He's an artist. He's done a beautiful job with it. And he is looking at ways of selling wholesale to other stores that then would sell his products retail. So instead of him selling, and it does have a website, but instead of him relying on, let's say, 150 women to buy 150 pieces of clothing, he can sell 150 pieces perhaps to one person he's wholesaling to a store that will then sell them to the other 150. And when you start thinking about the mathematics in that might be a better way for him to make money.
For that example, does he get a percentage of what's sold as retail, or does he just have it all outright?
That's a good question. So there's a couple different ways that we've actually been talking with him. He may actually have a pricing structure that he will sell it to the to the retailer at wholesale. So if it's worth $150, he might be selling it for 75 to the wholesaler. He makes the other. He makes whatever arrangements. So maybe if they're buying it for 75, maybe they're selling it for 100. He makes the 75. Another way he might work is on consignment, because if he's going to small boutiques, he might want to say to the owner of that boutique, "Hey, I've got these dresses. Let's put them in your store. I'll set up the racks. I'll put all the codes on them and the UPC filings and all that other stuff on it. And let's look at it where at the end of the month, I'll come back, however many you've sold, I'll pay you a commission on, and that's consignment. So it sits there till they sell it, or until the retailer says, no, we're done with it, whatever. But that's one other way to possibly work. So mostly if you're selling on the internet, you're probably mostly selling directly to a consumer. So that, if you have anybody in here have like a Shopify or some sort of online sales. So you're working, are people coming to you, or are you doing a different business that way? People coming to you for you're a doula, right?
Yes, so
Yeah.
branding services, yes, but I also have a website for the products that they can utilize.
Okay, very interesting. That's nice. That's a business model. That's your business model. That's a nice business model.
It is.
So when you think about business models, what is it that you do? How do you get it to the consumer or to the end user? And how do you make your money? That's your business model. So as you compare competitors, you think about those things in their business models. And then, associate networks for services and products. We'll talk about that in a minute. So identifying your target markets, and this is the most important thing that you can do in marketing. That's one of the first things that somebody's going to ask you about. What is your target market? There's a ton of ways to do this. We can spend hours just talking about how to target a market and who your products are. And, we do things like a buyer persona. Anybody have an idea what a buyer persona might look like or is? And you probably could easily find what a buyer persona is. So that would be, and it could be actually a fictional person, but it would be a person who has very specific needs, that has, ways of, so yours in your case would be a woman who is potentially, obviously pregnant or thinking about becoming pregnant, or, somewhere along in their pregnancy. But, the issues, the problems that they have, the reasons why they would consider using you or someone in your profession, those are all things that go into that buyer persona. So that buyer persona might be a woman named Anita, and that woman might be in this age group. Her concerns are, she's worried about giving birth. She's also interested in, having a certain kind of experience in giving birth, and, perhaps even wary of hospitals or, physicians and that type of thing. Those are the things that would fit into your buyer persona, and those will be the people that you begin to identify as possible users of your services. So this is very, very overly simplified, but so, your key demographics are where they live, how old they are, how much money they make, how big are their families, those types of things. All this information is available one way or another, either through, you can go online to census.gov. You can look up by zip code who people are. If you want to go to, the zip codes here in East Cleveland, you can find out how many people live in East Cleveland, what the family structures look like, education, what the earning structures look like. That stuff is all available. Marketers use this information to align their products and services with the customers that are out. So that's something that is there's a ton of great information on the census out there. So understanding gender and geographic. Now, one thing that's a little bit harder to pinpoint, and that's buying habits and behavior. So when you begin to think about your buyer persona, or you're thinking about people that you want to sell to in your target market, you want to understand what their buying behavior is. Why? Because number one, the message that you use to target them needs to understand that, and you need to use that message to find those people. Another reason is that you want to figure out where you are marketing your products to. That's your target market. Are they on Facebook? Do they read a newspaper? Do they read magazines? Where do they get their information from? Another quick example, I worked with a young man that had a poster business, and it was kind of like macabre, far out, kind of sci-fi type stuff that he was selling, and he was selling it online. And we were looking at places where he might be able to sell it. And I was talking to him. He said, I get a lot of people coming from various tattoo parlors that are buying this art because they like the way it looks. It kind of matches up with what they're doing. So we started thinking about the customer that goes to this tattoo artist or tattoo artists, plural. What is it that they like? Where did they get their information? Turns out, there are some bars where some of these guys hang out. They're primarily male, although they don't necessarily have to be. And it turns out that they get certain magazines that they like. Those are where he started advertising. His business took off like that. So that's what you got to think about in marketing. So market size and realistic penetration and growing, or is your, first of all, is your market growing or declining? So if you're an old style market, give you an example there, you think about some of the department stores right now, and companies like Amazon and a few of the other companies that are kind of eating their lunch. Those, unfortunately, are on the decline. You've seen JCPenney close, you've seen Sears close, you've seen a bunch of other closures here. So that what that's saying is that that business is mature and it's beginning to decline. Whereas the other type of business where people are buying things online and getting overnight delivery and all that other stuff, those businesses are in a growth mode. So as you're beginning to think through your business, you want to know where that business fits within the growth cycle of the business. Is it the peak? Is it at the bottom? Maybe somebody's come in with a different idea for the same business, and that business all of a sudden is taking off because somebody's coming in with something different. So identifying target markets, we just talked about target markets to a point. Comparison. Target market research. Let's see if that's what we're talking about. Yeah. All right, so I'm just going to skip on to the next one and show you what Ann did. Okay. Now we began to talk about channels. One channel is local nurseries. She is in an area not far away from Philadelphia. She knows that there are 200 local nurseries that she can sell to. Okay. Distant nurseries are nurseries that she can sell to through some sort of representation on the internet. So there are internet companies out there that sell gardening equipment, gardening products, nursery products. She can sell through them. Okay. And then she can also sell to local gardeners. So that would be gardeners that are in, let's say, a 20-mile radius that would drive to her nursery and buy direct. And then the last part of this is the internet gardener. And that means that she might set up a website and, through one of the website companies and hope that she gets people to buy from her online. And, that's probably the more difficult way to go in her particular instance. So let's look at how she figured this out. So her channel position, those are people she's selling to, are other producers, other people that produce plant material, and retailers, people that sell retail plants. And then the distant nursery is somewhat similar. The only difference is that it's not in her backyard. She can't go call on them directly. Calling on them directly is a business to business type situation. I'm a business, I'm calling on another business. The selling model for business to business is different. It's me as the business owner getting out and actually calling on the business that I want to sell to directly. Are we okay on time, Sean? Okay, good. And then the other one is the local gardener, and her channel is the consumer. It's a person that actually, wants to buy her plants and put them in their own backyards. And then also retailer and consumers on the internet gardening. So she's going to set up a website that she's going to work through, and she's going to get people to buy from her. And the people that buy from her will be other retailers or other consumers. So when you look at key demographics, she's really talking about what in her particular instance, what the sales potential is for her. And here as well. And so, the retailers that she would be selling to are retailers that are in the vicinity of up to $30 million in annual business. Okay, so, it's a pretty broad size group that she's looking at, but she's smart. Okay, when you put together your business and when you think about who you're marketing to, think about it smart. You want to get to the people that you can make the most money from with the least amount of work to get there. Okay, and identify easily enough. You've got to be able to identify a target. So Pretty much the same thing on the distant nurseries in terms of the target market would be, 30 million, up to 30 million in sales. And they have a broad product line that they carry. And then when you talk about a local gardener, she's talking about somebody that's not afraid to come in and spend $100 on a tree. So she's calling that high end. So that's the way I would look at that. Now, again, this is very simplified compared to what your own business might be, but it's not a bad way to go when you're beginning to think through the feasibility of your business. And then, of course, the internet gardener, the same kind of thing. It's very similar to the local gardener, except that it is done purchase-wise through the internet. So, and then she looks at buying habits we talked about. So they want to trust the product and they want a personal connection. So if you're in Ann's 200 nurseries that she does, she's going to call on these people directly. She's going to talk to them. She's going to, everybody knows Ann. She's got a PhD in horticulture. She did, as she was going through college, she worked for some of these nurseries on a part-time basis. So she's got some creds in these particular businesses. These are the local businesses. So that's important to understand that the buying habits of the people that she's selling to, the nurseries want to be able to trust her and her product, which is another reason she's got that guarantee. And so that warranty is a 1-year warranty. If the plant dies, she'll replace it. The other thing that she does, if you read through the Ann's nursery, is she actually has a separate instructions on how to grow and how to nurture these plants. So that's something, again, that the nurseries would like. That's a benefit, by the way, that she has to offer to people that buy from her. The other thing is distant nursery is very similar. It's just a difference in locale. Local reps for local gardeners that, Ann is available and her entire nursery staff if something goes wrong. And then reputation and delivery is really important, and she's very good at that. And then she's got market size down here. She's thought through what numbers that she can make in terms of sales. So in this particular case, she knows that there are 200 nurseries out there. She's forecasting that she could do about $50,000 of business with each one of those nurseries. And then when you, actually that's the market size, that each one of those nurseries spends about $50,000 a year in plants. But this means that if she could do 5% of that, that's her market share. And then what she hasn't said here is her market share, if you're looking at $1 million, her market share is 5% of that $1 million. So if you take the 50,000 times 200, that's $1 million. If my math serves me right, I'm not a great mathematician, so I apologize if I'm wrong. But her market share is 5% of that. So that's not too bad. She does the same thing down here as well. I'm not going to get into that in any more detail because I don't want to take too much more time. So, as you start thinking through this, we've done the target markets. We've talked about the channel positions. We talked a little bit about demographics and about buying habits. Demographics are going to be very important to you to know where you're selling to. So, again, I'm assuming that that you know exactly where your demographics are, the people that you typically sell to, your garage door openers that you're installing, or your garage doors, I should say, that you're installing for people. You know where they're located, what the demographics are, and you could probably take that and put it somewhere else and get the same kind of business, I'm assuming. So when you start thinking through who you're selling to, how does that generally equate in terms of demographics? I assume it's got to be a homeowner, right? And do you sell in any particular area?
I saw that just about all of it. So I got like a 100-mile radius.
Okay, good. So you're in a good portion of Northeast Ohio. I mean, yeah, you go all the way out probably to the eastern, western, and in the southern suburbs to a point, right?
Yes.
So that's excellent. So, but what you do know is that it's a homeowner, probably has a 1 or 2 car garage. You might even be able to figure out what the typical earning potential is, if you got somebody that's got a $200,000 home and is making X amount of dollars, that's a perfect target potentially for you, and because they're going to need a garage door opener one way or another. So you're going to look in those markets as your target, which makes a lot of sense. Key needs for your products or services, cost versus profit, understanding all that, where you fit in. How do you fit in terms of pricing structure with your competitors?
Well, what I do now, I'll see how much they charge. And sometimes I try to come down maybe $200 or $300 lower than them and offer them a warranty.
Mhm.
And I also show them how to service their doors, which nobody does.
Right. So, so that's a real benefit in having somebody who works through the service part of it with you. So, yeah, that's pretty excellent. Good. So, you can see that down here it says sales size and estimate of your potential market penetration. That's kind of what I showed on that previous chart. So, when you start thinking about the sales channels that Ann is in particular, you know that what she's trying to do does fit and fill target customers' needs. Profitability is based on costs of goods and services sold, how much you're selling it for yourself, how much you're buying it for. Again, I mentioned, are you doing cost plus? Are you buying something and selling it for a market? You need to think through how you're going to make a profit in your business. There's a ton of different models. Don't want to get into any. If you work with a store mentor, we can work through some various business models with you. This is interesting, this minimum channel conflict. Okay, you notice that Ann's got 4 channels that she sells through: nurseries, distant nurseries, internet, and then local gardeners. Those are 4 channels. What you need to understand is that there's no conflict in those channels. And I'll give you an example. Ann actually does have conflict in one of her channels. And you'll see in a minute she decided not to do it. Target market comparison. I'm just showing you the chart so you know what you're looking at. And now I'll show you what Ann actually put together for hers. And she worked with the pluses and the minus signs. So she's looking at a comparison of these channels based on what you saw before. What's the need of the client or the customer or the end user? And you can see that no matter what channel she's in, there's a need for her product, local, distant, local gardeners and internet gardeners. On profitability, you can see local nurseries is most profitable for her. Okay, now distant nurseries, while she's got it, as neutral, those are, still profitable. They're just not the most profitable. All right, I told you sell smart, and stay within those areas that make the most amount of money. Look at local gardener. She's actually got a negative sign there. And, for probably a lot of reasons. One, she probably just cannot charge enough money to make it as profitable as she'd like. And so she potentially could lose money there. And then internet gardener, pretty much, there's profit there. It's just not as large as the local nursery. Now, she talked about channel conflict. So, has anybody kind of thought through what the channel conflict here might be? If not, I'll just tell you what it is. The conflict is with the local gardener. Why? Because the local gardener potentially might also be buying from the local nursery. Okay? And the local nursery is not going to be happy with Ann selling to their target audience. So I've been in that situation as well in a different way where, bottom line is that if I have a source of income and revenue that feels that I am taking advantage of them or competing with them, they're not gonna like me, and they won't buy from me, and that's where the channel conflict is. So in the long run, Ann decided not to go there, because look at this. Her sales are negative, channel conflict, we already know, competitive or competition, is kind of negative, because of the local nurseries, and it fits her kind of negative as well. So it's probably a lot more difficult for her to deal with consumers directly than it is to go to a nursery. Same thing with the gentleman that I talked about with the dresses. Instead of selling 150 dresses, he can just go to a retailer and sell them wholesale. That might be a better channel for him. So that's kind of how that works. And as you go through what you're doing, you might want to compare it the same way. Question?
So while you're looking at Ann's nursery, does her sales and her target market, does her sales impact her decision on her channel conflict as well with the local gardener?
Absolutely.
If she's making more with the local nursery, she doesn't want to interrupt that because they're the higher in her sales, so she'll sacrifice the local gardener.
Yeah.
Basically, the potential of making something there
Yeah,
because she has a higher sales focus
Yeah,
at the local
yeah.
nursery.
exactly. That's exactly right. You know, think about a couple other things that it will take her more labor to deal with people that are coming to her directly. So, you know, she might have to have staff people that just wait on customers and come in. And she's not making as much money on that. She also is making her people that are really her bread and butter, she is potentially making them angry as well. Thanks. That was a good question. So your marketing message, we're going to kind of just dive in from where Ann was to what her message is going to be. You know, you need to understand what it's fulfilling a need. You know, if you have a product or you have a service, it's got to fit a need. There's got to be a reason why people would buy from you. You know, and so, you know, what I would look at in the market is what's missing, okay, or what are pain points of the people that potentially could be your customer? What are their pain points? And you know that's you know something that's interesting as well, to understand pain points, because your marketing message is going to solve those. So you know if something's not going right for you know if you're business to business and something is not right in your customers' eyes about the business, can I solve that problem?
Mhm.
You know, can I go in there and solve that problem, be the hero and get all the business? So understanding that, certainly quality, price, availability, dependability, all that stuff's important. But also to clearly identify, you know, unique and key features. That again is going back to really understanding your market and knowing that you've got a product that will fulfill a need. Yes.
So I want to make sure I'm understanding this one.
Mhm.
So for instance, for my business, when people come to me, if they're not credit rated, I can get them credit rated. Would that be related to that?
Yeah,
Concise
yeah, yeah. I mean,
message?
so yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay,
Yeah. So the pain points for them is they want to go out and get credit.
right.
They're starting a business. I need a $50,000 loan. I only got a 550 credit score.
So I'm letting them know with my marketing message, I can do both. That would apply to that? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so unique key features, that unique and key features is important. One thing that you want to keep in the back of your mind that you know you want to be able to work with at all times is what is your value proposition? What are you bringing to the table that makes you of value to your end user? I don't care if it's you know if it's an association or you know if it's a nonprofit. What value are you bringing to people that come to you? And that's really important. Your value proposition, you need to be able to say that in few words. What value do I bring to the table? And there's a lot of different ways to look at that. And I think we've got some stuff in here as well. So again, this is somewhat overly simplified, higher level You might want to think it through differently or more or whatever, and we're happy to help you. Ann's Nursery, which is the name of the business, offers discerning growers and gardeners, that's her target customer, high-quality ornamental shrubs and vines, backed by well-known horticulturist Dr. Ann Murphy, in a one-year money-back guarantee to grow and extended plant care. And she's got documentation that she sends out with that when you make a purchase. So again, it's overly simplified, but it works. You know, the target customer, if you were actually doing a marketing plan, would be much, much more detailed. If you were actually doing a business plan, your products would be much more detailed. But all in all, that's a great marketing message. What's good about that is that she can get it out like that. Anybody familiar with what an elevator speech is? Anybody?
Well, it can be like 10 seconds or a minute, 60 seconds or less or
The
something.
time it takes to get from the 10th floor to the first floor.
Oh.
More or less, I mean, but that's basically it. It's 10, 15 seconds. So you need to be able to tell somebody who you are and what you do in that period of time.
Yep.
And that's really important. Because after that first 10 or 15 seconds, people don't want to listen to you. All right, so let's talk a little bit about marketing communications. This is something that you want to be able to think about where you are actually going to be talking to people. You know, there's tons and tons of ways to go, and we actually have a whole series on marketing, and it's, you know, everything from doing print all the way through, you know, creating websites and doing, you know, social media marketing and things like that. We've got some pretty good expertise, people that do these presentations. So I'm going to start with some of the real obvious ones, you know, radio, TV, newspaper. I don't know if anybody does yellow pages anymore. This is a presentation, so, you know, but public relations in TV and radio and print. Public relations is a real cool way to go, you know, especially if you're in, you know, you're doing good work. If you want people to know that. We at SCORE are very lucky in that, you know, every now and again, we'll get an article in Cranes Cleveland about us and what we're doing and some of the businesses we're working with. We've had some news, Channel 4 news articles about us. We've just been very, very lucky. We've got one guy, though, that is a PR specialist, and he writes all of our press releases. But when those get picked up, we get noticed. That's really important, and it's free. You know, if you're writing good press releases, and people pick them up. Collateral material, I mean, it's business cards, brochures, things like that. And more, that kind of stuff is electronic, and not necessarily hand flyers and paper goods that are out there. But it's still good to have those things. And certainly on the digital side, websites, email marketing is a great way to go. So, you know, if you're working with customers and you've done work with them and they're satisfied with what you've done, it'd be wonderful for you to start collecting email information on them and getting permission for you from time to time to send email stuff out, because you might have a sale. You might have some things that you want to talk about. You know, if you're interested in putting together a good email marketing program, you can't use your own personal email to do that. You've got to use an email tool where you can send it out in bulk, and then the spam laws and things like that are you know, answered. So there are 2 or 3, probably more than 2 or 3. There's dozens of good email programs out there. I know Sean uses Constant Contact. We use Sean's Constant Contact, MailChimp, and then there's a couple free ones out there. And a lot of what you would pay for an email program is based on the number of emails you send. So if you're not sending that many, it's not a bad way to go. But email marketing is a terrific way to get out there and, you know, see that. So yes.
Will we reach out to our SCORE mentor to have access to the series?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Are you working with somebody now?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
Joanne.
Oh, yeah. Joanne,
Yeah, I'll be back here.
yeah. Question. I'm sorry.
So it's kind of a 2-part. So the first part is, would you consider when people buy tables at different events, marketing strategy or marketing communication?
Yes.
And then, how do you factor that into, because I know this might be pushing into the next slide, but how do you factor that in when you're putting a marketing package together? Like, how much would I spend if I don't choose to do advertising, radio, TV, or digital, and instead I buy a table or I buy a booth?
Mhm.
How do you price compare, I should say, to feel like, am I paying too much
Right.
for this method of marketing, or?
You know, there's a lot of variables. That's a great question too. What I was going to say is that if Joanne is not comfortable with, and I'll answer your question, if Joanne's not comfortable helping you with email marketing, she can pull somebody else in that is. And we do that all the time, you know. So yeah, feel free. So to answer your question, so you know, you want to determine whether or not you're better off putting a booth out there or a table or something like that versus doing any other sort of marketing or in conjunction with any other marketing. So the difficult part of doing that is, you know, understanding what your outcomes are going to be first. So, you know, depending on your product as well or your service, you know, I know that we've got several people that have started, you know, like there's a woman that actually has a snack product that she's done. And I have seen her literally at any farmer's market that I go to in the summertime. If it's not her, it's her boyfriend. If it's not her boyfriend, it's her cousin. If it's not her cousin, it's her grandmother. But no matter where you are, anywhere near the city, they're there with your product and they hand out the products. So depending on the product, that may be a great way to go. You know, you want to build a following up to a certain point before you start trying to figure out how you're going to go out there and get people to your website. Because you put a website up, and I don't care how good the website is or how great the products are. If nobody knows about it, it doesn't go anywhere. So you got to start getting some notice first. That's one way to do it. Now, in terms of spending money, you know, I think that, again, you know, if you're going to, you have a farmer's market right here in East Cleveland, don't you? Yeah. So if you're going there, if you're going to the one that's in Shaker Square or any of those, you know, the cost of the tables are not that costly. You might want to do a cost comparison about how many products you need to sell to break even. And, you know, let's say it costs you, I don't know if it's $200 or, and I don't know what kind of commitment you have to make, but you know that you need to at least sell $200 worth of materials plus whatever cost to make those materials, and then still have profit at the end to make that worthwhile. On the other hand, you know, you can advertise and you can buy on, you know, on Facebook, you can buy ads pretty cheap at, you know, it's pennies a click, although that can add up quicker. But again, if nobody's going there to look, or if you don't have a following, then it's not going to help. So you got to get people there as well. One great way to get people there is to be out in public, talk to people, show your product, give free samples, sell your product. You get people that like you, and then you get them to start following you, and then you start building from there. And you got to start at the bottom.
Okay, so my question is in reference to the bulk email. So would the marketing communication be something like, let's say he puts in a door and he wants their email and he just wants to send them a thank you email for their business?
Yeah.
Could that like go towards the bulk to
No,
referrals? or no?
that you could send directly from your own email and say, hey, you know, just had a, you know, enjoyed working for you. Really appreciate the fact that you called me. Any problems, give me a call. That's direct. That wouldn't be a problem.
But could you put that in their email in the bulk from that?
Oh, you can. You technically you need permission.
Okay.
Technically.
That's not permission since you're just doing direct, or okay.
You know, so you know, in your case, if you're out at a farmer's market and you're selling your product, giving your product out as samples, how are we doing on time?
We're good. You don't have to worry about time.
Okay, all right, and I don't want to bore anybody either, so, I could talk all day on this. But in your particular case, you might want to consider putting a jar out there to say, hey, if you want to get copies of what I'm working on right now, or whatever, drop your card in here, or you might even give a prize away, free samples for everybody that puts their card in, or 10% discount when you go to my website. But collect email addresses. What we do in SCORE, and if you've got a website, you also want to, I'm getting away from this, but it's good marketing stuff. If you have a website, you also want to put a place on your website where somebody can sign up to get more information about your business. And if you have a good email program, it will automatically take that because there's, I'll call it a widget. And that widget will take it from your website to, in our case, it's Constant Contact, and actually put it into a database. And then I can go to that database when I'm ready to send information out, and I can send it to everybody. I can send it to only zip codes in East Cleveland, or I can send it to everybody in Cuyahoga County. However I want to break that up. But collecting email information is really good. And, if you put a sign-up sheet out on your table and you say, please give me your email address, and somewhere on the bottom it says, by you giving me this email address, I have permission to send you stuff. And and then you won't be breaking any spam laws. Now, I know that if people come to our website and they sign up for a workshop, that automatically ends up in our database. So, but it's an important way to market. And again, people just think that I'm going to put up a website and the rest is going to be a history. I'm going to make a ton of money. It doesn't quite work that way. You really have to work at it to make it work.
And I just want to add real quick. So like we built our whole website on Constant Contact once, because I followed the SCORE model because they were using it, right? And when we started using Constant Contact, I decided, because it was such a great tool, I took my website from its original host and moved it onto the Constant Contact platform. So now everything y'all do, if you give me your email address, your zip code and all that, it automatically goes into my contact list. The other thing that I'm able to do is, like, if you register for this event, it goes into one contact list. If you register to tell me to share your theater story, it goes into another list, right? So I can target my emails based on the lists that you signed up to be in. And some people are actually in multiple lists. So.
Yeah, we have the same thing.
Okay, so, I see you are talking about marketing, and I apologize, but it's kind of like, the separation from actually from you and the audience that you have, the product, we want to, try to bridge the gap in between that. So, more of like, I do distribution, like with flyers.
Mhm.
So being able to create a flyer and then be able to take that flyer and has a general overview of your business and take it wherever you go. So now it's a constant networking tool that you can use when you're in the community, when you're going around, when you're just talking to people, when you're finding interest. Having that flyer actually makes it possible for you to bridge the gap between you and your consumers when you're out.
Agree 100%. Yeah, I think that's important. Not everybody needs to have it, but it sounds like in the particular business that you're at, it's good. I didn't talk about networking, which is a whole nother area. And that's what kind of where you're talking, you're in the right place at the right time. You talk to somebody, give you a quick example. I'm working with a woman that does, I think she does DE&I, she does LGBTQ, she does conflict resolution. She's a psychologist. And she ended up at a conference. She talked to a woman that was on the board of a mental health institution. That person then went to the head of that organization and said, talk to this woman. She got a job out of it just like that. But that's kind of what you're talking about. Having the material available, being in the right place at the right time, knowing who to network with. Networking is a huge possibility in terms of that. So, another example is that, knowing where your sales are coming from. So in our particular case, SCORE is a service organization. And most of the clients that we get from SCORE come to us because of our workshops. You go to a workshop and they sign up for a mentor, or, in this case, some of you already have mentors. So the idea is to figure out where your business is coming from and have the ability to cater to that. Networking is a wonderful place to do that. And we network all the time. Otherwise, I would have found Sean. Right? So, yeah.
So we can sign up for a mentor here today?
Yeah, all you have to do here, in fact, I have our website up. I brought it up to show you. I brought it up to show you. So right here, stay connected with our business experts. If you fill this out, this will take your name and put it in our database. But I wanted to show you this, that if you put this on your website, I'm going all the way down to the bottom of our website, right here.
They can't see it because your presentation is still showing.
Oh, okay, my bad. I thought it was so cool. You scroll up and down. Yeah. I can stop.
I'm just trying to get to where you.
Okay. Just, it's funny, it's here, it's not there. I was gonna show that, yeah, I just want to show, yeah. So if you go to our website, score.org/Cleveland, request a mentor. There's a tab there. And then see where it says request a local mentor?
Okay.
And you just feed us the information and they'll assign somebody and they'll try to assign somebody based on what you need. So there's an area for you to write some stuff out.
I have a question.
Yes.
So what if your needs have changed over the course, or that mentor that we were originally assigned delegate certain services again to us? So
Yeah. Ask me the question again because I don't know if I follow.
I've requested a mentor, but I've been working with her for a while.
Right.
The needs that I had at that moment are different than what
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Would she delegate the current needs that I?
Yeah, I mean, you could have a discussion with her and then have her, either bring somebody else with her so that you have two people together, or just, just somebody bring them up. See, we have brochures. Anyway, so that was that. Any questions on that website or any of that? And they should contact you pretty quickly. Or maybe we should.
We can request, right?
You can, yeah, if you want to request somebody by name,
Okay.
just put their name in there.
So do you guys have consistent, meetings?
I'm sorry,
Consistent meetings?
consistent meetings, in terms of like, workshops and stuff. Yeah, we do about 100 workshops a year, so maybe 2-3 a week. And you can sign up online for those as well. If you sign up to get our newsletter, same kind of thing, they'll send you information every time. So I can go back to the website. Sean, if I go to the website, pull it up again, will it help me, or?
I don't think I tipped it down. I think I just moved your,
Presentation back up.
I have to move between screens.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll stay. I'm staying.
Yeah, the other screen is, Wait, I'll click for you because it's not showing full screen.
Okay, so yeah, you can go back to the release. So if you go, you see where it says local workshops? Local workshops. You just click it. Click workshop calendar. Yeah, and then it's a workshop calendar, yes. So if you go there, there's a calendar that comes up down below, and it shows you all the workshops that are coming up. Sure. Yeah, there they are. So you can see, yeah, that's that one. There, most of the workshops that we do are online and virtual. A few of them are live at various places. If you hit local workshops. And there's also recorded workshops. So if you want, you can go onto that website and put in a subject matter. You can also say where you are in your business. You know, I'm a startup. You know, I need more, and it'll actually pull up recorded workshops that you can just take. It's all free.
But then, okay, so here's the thing, like, I already started my business, I researched, I'm a big researcher, right?
Excellent.
So I researched and I found different things that I could do to push my business
Right.
forward. So I branded, I was able to make my own logo.
Yep.
I did my own individual flyers.
Right.
And then I was able to work with council and state representatives and help them actually push their flyers. So I have letters of recommendation that recommend Fast Flyers as an actual
Right.
flyer distribution company.
Right.
And working with community development companies also, like Amigos and Curtindale Card.
Yep.
And Collinwood Connections, being able to understand how vital flyers are to the upcoming business environment.
Okay. So you're interested in actually doing a workshop for SCORE, teaching people how to use flyers.
I mean, that's my whole business is Fast Flyers. Like, I'm
Yeah.
Fast Flyers. Like, that's what I do.
Yeah. Not a bad thing. Yeah. So you can, you know, there's plenty of workshops online you can take if you want to do that. You know, somewhere along the line, who knows when, we might be able to do something where you could actually do a workshop for people that are interested. Okay, let's finish this. Let me just go back to the slides that we were working on. Gotta be close to the end, I'm pretty sure. All right, so. So, you know, I don't know, you can't really see this, but if you want, I can give you hard copy of this, a marketing calendar. And the thing that's good about this is on the left-hand side, literally, and this is only half of it. I actually don't know if this, I don't know if this will go. No, I don't think so. This actually, looks like the actual thing. Cool. Along the left-hand side are all the possible kinds of marketing you can do. This is showing it week by week. You don't have to do it that way, but it's just a nice outline of things that you can use to market with. So, let me see how I get back on it. I'm back into that. And then marketing expense strategy. And actually I put together one that I'll show in a second, and we'll keep it very simple. one-time expenses, monthly annual expenses, and then kind of like labor costs. And I think you have a handout on that.
You have a question back here, Bob?
Yes,
Does the previous screen, the marketing calendar,
yes.
with all those options, can you use that sheet with the marketing expense to kind of identify what cost is? Or
Yes.
what would the purpose be for, can both those sheets work interchangeably with each other?
Yeah, this is set up as a calendar so that, on a weekly basis or day-to-day basis, you can record what it is on that calendar of things that you want to do. So you might, be pushing out Facebook ads, and you might on the same day have a radio advertisement going on. You might have something else going on 3 or 4 days later or a week later. That's where you can put that. You can put the costs down for doing that, and that kind of will add up. It's an Excel spreadsheet, but it's also good in that, if you're not sure some of the possibilities that are out there for marketing, you can use that to give you some ideas. So, I don't know, I don't think we have a copy of it here.
It'll be live still that are provided.
Yeah, I mean, that's on the slide right there. And Sean, there is a link on here to the actual sheet. I think that sheet is in that drive. So if you want to print it up, if you want to bring it up, click on it, print it out, you could print that calendar out.
Yeah, or I'll actually
Send it electronically.
to the actual calendar to them so they can look at it.
Okay. So yeah, that's a possibility.
You guys get everything, right? All the documents, all of the presentations for the last 3 you'll get. I'll probably get it done sometime Sunday or Monday.
All right. So we're getting down to the end. So just so you understand what Ann did, these are the 3 sales channels that she is working within. She decided to scrap the local nursery or local gardeners. And so she's only going to work in these 3. And you can see how much money she's spending to start up. So for her local retailers, she's looking at $1,000 that she's going to put together for samples that she can hand out, sell, bring to markets and things like that, or bring to her retailers. There's no real monthly expenses after that. And then she's got one person dedicating a half staff person to actually doing all of it that goes into the marketing here. That's, again, it's overly simplified, but that's kind of how you want to think it through. And then distant retailers, she's got to provide displays for them. And so that's a couple $1,000, $3,000 for that. Then she's got to be going out there or sending somebody out there to call on these retailers so that she can make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. And she's dedicating 1/4 of a full-time staff for that. And then the same thing with the internet customers. So basically, she's got 1 full-time staff person doing the marketing. And that's kind of how, like I said, it's overly simplified. And she hasn't thought through if she's doing anything on the web, if she's doing anything through social media. She hasn't put any pricing together around that. And then, the one thing I'll say with regard to this slide, without really going through it in any detail, it costs a lot more money to get a new client than it does to keep a client that's satisfied with your business. So the importance of this slide is to say, you want to treat your customers well, you want them to come back, you want a quality product, you want quality service. I was in a business that was, multi-million-dollar contracts. If I lost a customer, it took me years to get it back. And if I lost a customer because somebody in the operations team did something stupid, customer never forgets it. So it might take $100,000 for me to go travel, call on, send out proposals, wine and dine, and all the things that go along with getting a customer. It costs the company that, whereas if the customer automatically in 5 years just signed a new contract, that's the point I wanted to make here. And so the feasibility plan outline, which is all of the stuff that we've talked about in the last 3 sessions in this, is your business idea, what are your product and service offerings, and all of these sheets will give you all of that. Your pricing strategy, your competitive comparison, your target markets, and then your market strategies that you're going to use to reach customers. And that really will work. Now, the next session that we do is going to be on financials, understanding financial spreadsheets and things like that. And it's a difficult concept if you don't have good financial background, but we'll try and make it so that it's extremely understandable. We've done this many times, but what's important is understanding where your revenue is coming from, how much revenue you're making, how much it's costing you, what your profitability is, and then things like profit and loss statements, balance sheets, and a few other things that we're going to go through in the next session. And so we talked about competition, products and services, all these things all the way down to here. And then I think, is there homework? So yeah, I mean, if you work on this, on the handouts that you got today, that's pretty much what you need to do. Work on those. You don't have to go too crazy doing them. Make it simple and keep it nice. And this is something you can work with on your own, with a mentor, with somebody else. So, so next session is going to be working on financial plans. I think that's it. There's some resources here. That's kind of it.
So let's give Bob a hand, everybody. An excellent presentation. And I would just like to say, I was saying to my brother that this is one of the best sessions that we've had, and not just because the information that Bob was giving us was so good, but because you all were engaged, you asked great questions, you gave some great feedback. So I really appreciate that. And just kind of to keep where and to keep kind of in line with the theme, this is my marketing strategy. All right, I'm not a for-profit entity, but this is how I let the community know about the East Cleveland Growth Association and what we do. And part of my strategy is feeding, right? So that's an expense, right? But if I gave you guys a bag of chips and a cookie, you might not come the next time. So I feed you. And then that allows me to present this great information to you. Hopefully you go out in the community and you spread the word. So the next time we do this, we get more people, right? So yeah, it's all about marketing. But just to kind of bring this to a close, I'm not going to go through this today, right? Because you guys, I don't want you to get brain overload, and a lot of you already have business concepts. But I really do want you all to think about the grocery store project. After we finish the SCORE presentation over the next 2 sessions, then we'll turn our focus more directly to the grocery store. But most initially, we're going to be trying to develop these 3 teams. And I talked about it earlier, but I'll just go over it real quickly. The real estate team is the team that we're going to put together that will secure the property that we want for the grocery store. All right. The business development team, that's the team that we're going to work with to form a business that will manage and operate the grocery store. There are 2 ways that we're looking at executing the grocery store. One is a franchise, right? So we go to an organization that franchises, like, Aldi's or, what's the other one? Save-A-Lot. We don't want those, right, because they're already around, us, but that concept. And so what we do is then we would pay the licensing fee, the franchising fee, and then we operate that store under that umbrella company. And the business development team runs that, right? Or we get the facility remodeled as a grocery store, and then we bring a tenant in, and that tenant pays rent. Again, the business development team operates that function, all right? And then the other team is the gifts and donations team. That's going to be an ongoing thing, right? Trying to raise money for the different things that we want to do. And so those are 3 teams. If you are interested in joining the grocery store team, take your phone out, scan that QR code, and it'll pop up our sign-up sheet. The sign-up sheet and everything is also on the website. And then just real quick before we close,
Sean, put the website back up.
that's what I'm about to do.
QR code. No, QR code.
Oh, the QR code.
The QR code. We got some people that are scanning.
Oh, sorry.
Look, I'm scared. Just go.
Let me know when you guys are finished. Take your time.
They can come close.
You may not have your camera on, right, to do the QR code thing. You have to turn your control on. But not to worry, right? Because if you, one second.
On your email list?
If you go to, our website, give me a second.
Growth.org.
You go to our website. So, like I told you about the score. So you click on score partnership, presentation handouts, and there are all of the handouts for session 1 and session 2. I'll add session 3 and I'll also add the actual presentation, right? The other thing is, if you go to the EC Grocery Store tab, you will see the 3 sites that we're considering. And if you scroll down, you can click that link to join the team as well, right? And then while we're at the site, I just want to remind you guys that we are also looking for people to tell their stories about EC Theater. So click on the EC Theater link and then you go down to the bottom of the page and you can sign up to share your theater story as well, okay? So in all of these things, I build with Constant Contact, like we were talking about, the marketing tool, the email tool. So, just go ahead and do that. And then just one more thing. All right, so the next thing, the final thing is, I want to thank you. Our next webinar is Saturday, March 25th, and as always, hope to see you there. I hope you got something out of today's presentation. I certainly got something out of you all being here, and I hope to see you again next month. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day, and I appreciate you all.
Thank you. Uh-huh. No, when I try to take the person's number, text them my information. I have it in my phone. My little marketing strategy. That way I never die have to call. I'm getting ready to get some cards. My initials and stuff like that. I like to, no, I just like to, I'm in a different type, I'm in the service. See, so I want to make sure I have the number, so I can send it to her. I should, because they may think of me later on, so maybe not right now. What's your number? So if I take it down, 8518, yes. I'm in your place.
That's what I started to do.
Okay.
Just to go into flyer distribution. I don't think 50% of flyers is a lot to ask.
I think that people probably could use it. Yeah, you get my card.
Yes, sir. And like I told him, I'm Brandy, like, so everything that you guys were saying, this